How many second generation homeschoolers do you have now?
Well, none yet.
Okay.
They've kind of had different experiences. Like one moved to Singapore and his company paid for the kids to go to Singapore. And Singapore is supposed to be the number one place for education in the world.
Really?
So he's like,
Yes.
yeah, mom, I think we might just do that. I'm like, okay, that's not my job. But they're all phenomenal parents and pour into their kids, and I feel like that's huge, that they have
Indeed.
that connection with them. They're all thinking about it actually as their kids get older. They're like, maybe we need to go that route. So we'll see what they decide. And yeah, but yeah,
And
sorry.
with them, with the eight that you birthed, how
Mhm.
many of them were interested or intrigued by public school? The notion of
Oh,
going.
that's a good question. I really only had one who was saying, I think I want to be homeschooled. And at that time, she had a good friend in the neighborhood who was, I'm sorry, did I say homeschooled? I think I want
Yeah.
to be public schooled. I'm so sorry. Sorry. I think I want to be public schooled. And so we talked about it. She had a really good friend in the neighborhood who was public schooled, who was an absolute mess. But anyway, looking back, even a year later, she's like, Mom, I think I would have been a totally different person if you would have put me in school. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we did it. But, at the time we talked about it and we talked about her reasons and, um, I think it depends on the age of the child as well. If they're 15 or 16 and they really want to, that's different from 6 or 7. Um, and it's really important to listen to them. I've heard of families who have done that, and after week 2, they want to go back home again because they're like,
Really?
"Oh, it's not quite like I pictured it to just be a big hangout
Right.
with all my friends all day long." Um, but I think because I went to public school and my husband went to public school, we kind of know for us, it really wasn't the teachers or the material, it was the peers.
Mm.
And, we saw kids can be pretty cruel. Um, so, not to say that that's true of all public school kids by any means, but I think having some time at home, and then also definitely having the supplemental social opportunities. You mentioned CC and just all the phenomenal social opportunities there to connect with, learning with other people their own age. There's always great things about that too. So
Great.
yeah,
So at the peak of your homeschool, when you had the most kids at home, what
right.
did your day look like?
Yeah. And it was about 5. I figured it
Okay.
out because I still had like a newborn and a
Hmm.
3-year-old, which I wasn't homeschooling, and then one in college. So I think at my max, it was 5 kids. Yeah, typical day, we were fed and dressed by 9 a.m. We tried really hard to keep that because there's so many people. It's like, okay, I can't just wait around and say, is everybody ready? We tried to keep it like we were keeping a dentist appointment, 9 o'clock. And sometimes it was 9:10, sometimes it was 9:20, but generally speaking, we tried to get our day started by 9. Everybody was fed and dressed by that point, including me. And then we started with the most important study. Then we would move to the most brain intensive study and then the most comprehensive. So for our family, the most important was hearing from God. So we would spend about a half an hour reading the Bible and praying, sometimes singing together. What is this talking about? What does this mean? How can we apply this to our lives? So that's about the first half hour. We did that all together. Then I would give the older kids their math assignments. So that's the most brain intensive, the math. And they would go off and do that. And then I would work with the middle kids and kind of help them step through their assignments. And when everybody was done with that, then we would do together our history. And that kind of included all of their reading, their writing, their composition, penmanship, grammar, spelling, all of that, as well as all the humanities. So let's say on a given day, our 3-year-old, our third grader, our 13-year-old, we were all together learning about, let's say, we'll just say the Great Wall of China. Okay. So we were all doing a study of ancient China that semester. And we were day by day all learning about the same individual topic, but all at very different levels. And so I would give the younger kids, the older kids, here's the topic, go research it, look through these books and see what you can find and write about it. And they did that all independently. The younger ones, I would sit down, of course, and read to them and explain it to them. And then they would dictate or narrate back to me what they had gotten out of it. And either I would write it out and they would trace over it, or they would copy it depending on their age level. And then we would take about an hour and a half break for lunch, getting outside, running around. And I would get about an hour of, alone time, not really alone time, but a little relief of responsibility, let's put it that way, where I could, maybe make some phone calls or just catch up on whatever I needed to do. And that was really helpful for me mentally to have that little island of time in between, because there were so many people. Like, I need to have a parent teacher conference, I need some time alone, right? So then at about 1:30 or so, whenever, but everybody was already up from naps, they would start their piano practice. And when one was doing piano, the other ones were helping with a household task. Everybody did one thing every day, and it was half an hour to 45 minutes, like sweeping the kitchen floor or taking out the garbage or meal prepping or whatever. I wanted them to all be involved with it because there's only one of me and 8 of them, and there is no way I could keep up with all that mess.
Please say it again. Yeah.
Right? There is no way anyone should have to do all of that work. And they're contributing to the mess. They can definitely learn to appreciate
Yes.
after it, right?
Yes,
So that was
ma'am.
a huge skill that I wanted to invest in the kids so that they would, be able to take care of their own home one day. And all of my daughter-in-laws have thanked me
Oh,
profusely.
yes.
Thank you for teaching my husband to wash dishes and to pick up and to whatever. So I love that. Like, I grew up, I did not know how to work a washing machine. And I got to college and I didn't know how to do my own laundry. I'm like, pretty sure at 10 years old, they're able to learn how to run a washing machine and a dryer
Yes,
and be
ma'am.
responsible for their own stuff. So that was key for me. And then survival wise. So then they would have a little break after they did their piano and that one task. They'd have the rest of the afternoon. Oh, sorry, I forgot. We did a little bit of science at about 1:30, maybe half an hour for the older kids. And then they would do the task and the piano practice. I'm like, yeah, they weren't all awake by 1:30 from their naps. So yeah, it was, you can't do piano until everybody's awake, right? Or it's going to wake
Right.
somebody up.
And let's not wake anyone up.
No, that is the golden rule. Never wake a sleeping child. Never. So yeah, around 2:30, they start piano, whatever. And then they had free time till about 5:36 when we would all try to eat supper together. Not every night, like we would sometimes have different sports activities or church events, but we tried pretty much every night, maybe 5 out of 7, to be together. And my husband would sit down and we'd say, oh, why don't you tell dad what you studied about today, or what did you learn today? And so they would go right kind of back into review mode, and they would all be talking about it because they were all studying the same thing. So that was really a cool thing to hear them say, hey, did you hear about this? This is what I learned today. Whoa, I did too. Or, oh, I didn't know that. So it kind of helped reinforce what they had learned. And then we always said, so what did you do today, Dad? And so I wanted them to be learning to listen to him as well, and to each other, and not just be the ones talking. And so after supper, the kids would clear the dishes, load the dishwasher. It's a good idea to do that in pairs, so they have kind of like a buddy, then they can keep talking and have fun with it. We didn't always do that, but that is the ideal, is my recommendation. Then about 7:30, my husband would start reading aloud a book, a chapter book, just for pleasure. like Chronicle of Narnia series or Swiss Family Robinson or anything that you just love. And to me, that was a huge opportunity for them to learn good literature, build their vocabulary, um, just instinctively learning sentence structure just by hearing it. And just also just good daddy kid time, you know?
Right.
And then I would start getting the little ones ready for bed and tuck them in. And then slowly everybody would, morph into bedtime. And then I think probably key is I made sure I was in bed by 11 o'clock, no later
Okay.
than. And some people need it sooner than that, but I was, I would always pay the price if I stayed up late. I love to stay up late. Let me say, I could stay up till 2 a.m. I'm that kind of I love to be the night owl because everybody's asleep,
Quiet. Yes,
want
that's
to
the
get so much
quiet.
done. But the little kids still wake up at 7 a.m. every morning, So
Mm,
I found the best way to prepare for school the next day was to have a good brain. And I
right.
needed it sleep for that. And also, my other very obvious life hack is take good vitamins every day because staying healthy is important. Get outside, exercise, move with your kids, and try to eat healthy, low sugar foods. Yeah, so that's my mother example life hack that my daughters are now like, Mom, I can't believe we're turning out just like you. We're taking our vitamins every day. They're like, how many years you've harped on this and said, are you taking your vitamins? And they're like, oh, baby, that's why I'm so tired. But now they're like, we're sold on it. We see the total benefit. So that's kind of rewarding.
Night, yes, of course. Do you
Yeah.
find that you all utilize technology more as of course, when you first started, I'm sure there was, you know, totally absent of technology, but in the times and understanding, where we're going with technology, how
Yeah.
did you start to incorporate that more?
Yeah. Well, I kind of have a confession to make. So, our second son was really into technology, and all there was at that time was like Game Boys. And I
Mm.
was like, this kid doesn't love to read. He doesn't love math. Is he ever going to amount to anything? And like I said, and now he is a designer for Apple. So he
Mm.
found his groove and he's like,
Yeah.
Mom, I would do this job even if I didn't get paid for it. I love it that much. I'm like, that's cool that
Yes.
God wired him that way, no pun intended. He loves electronics and loves everything computer. And so I think because of him
Okay.
it grew in our family, and our oldest son started going, hey, this is kind of interesting. It really wasn't a passion of his initially. Now he's like a super genius on computers and does all kinds of amazing stuff that I don't even know the names of. And so that really just spread in a good way, in a good influence through our kids. And like I said, then we started using it for researching different stuff, whatever we were studying. I tried to say that as more of a secondary level, just because I knew that they would all love it so much. I'm like, okay, first read a book about it, okay, and then we can watch videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's maybe how it was introduced was through our second son. Yeah, that's probably what I
Gotcha.
would say. Yeah. And my
Nice.
husband, he loved playing Age of Empires with the kids, and they were learning about civilizations through that too. So I'm like, okay. And like I said, he is also definitely a computer geek. So like I can't withhold it from them forever. I
Of
tried as
course
long as I
not.
could, but yeah, now right, our world revolves around it, right? We wouldn't be having this
Right.
interview without it.
I
So
know, right?
yep, pretty necessary.
Balance. Balance. It's all about the balance. So,
Right.
mom who didn't even know about phonics, how did you teach 8 kids to read?